and hit preview for this to come up. And then make that go away, you just right click it and you just click enable. And you want and hit preview for this to come up. And then make that go away, you just right click it and you just click enable. And you want
Uh, Hello?
Yo, what's up?
Uh,
Hey, what's up, Ethan?
on.
What?
Aren't we doing a thing or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. I just thought I'd
Yo, what's up?
hop on then.
Hang on. All right, welcome to the RSC podcast and live stream of the Georgia District 6 special election versus with Ossoff versus Handel. Handel has actually taken an early lead at 51.5%, and Ossoff is right behind at 48.5%. I project that Handel is going to take this one. Ethan, what do you think?
I'd have to agree.
Yeah, you'd think
It's just
Go ahead.
no. I'm just saying, like, I mean, especially how it looks now, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I assumed that before, just looking at the demographics of the area, which a lot of people would believe that Ossoff would take, mainly hearing all the ads. But I think he's just bought up more ad room, which made people hear his name more, which I think has actually hurt him in a way and has made more people want to go out and vote just to make sure he doesn't win. Because a lot of his supporters are actually hurting him rather than helping him. All right, welcome to the RSC podcast and live stream of.
I guess part of it too is he doesn't actually live here, does he?
Yeah, he doesn't live in his own district.
A lot of people view him as sort of like, quote, yuppie young guy, and they don't like that.
Yeah,
just from a personality
standpoint. Yeah, but anyways, a lot of his supporters and on Twitter did the whole flip the six thing and vote your ass off, and they were really smug about him winning and wanting him to win. So I don't know. I feel like they're hurting him more than they're helping him. They're kind of alienating people who would normally vote for him because he's kind of posed himself as this kind of. He's critical of both the Democratic and the Republican parties, as many of his ads have addressed spending in both parties and useless spending. And I just think it's really odd.
Standpoint anyway, it's kind of a stealth thing at this point, saying, "Oh, I hate both parties," but you know,
It's kind of just a way to make yourself like, oh, look, I don't align with this party or that party.
I'm for the people. When are the official results and when will they be done?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the estimated time is. I know that the voting ended at 7 o'clock, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Nothing really surprising on the map as of now. No shockers are kind of taking what everybody had projected them to take in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Test. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Right Side of Campus podcast over the Georgia District 6 special election. It's pretty close right now, but we're projecting that Karen Handel will take it from John Ossoff. All right. If you're just tuning in, welcome to the RSC podcast over the Georgia District 6 special election of Ossoff and Handel. Handel is currently, from what we're using, in the lead, but just barely. This is from Decision Desk HQ, but the New York Times is actually giving a separate estimate, putting Ossoff slightly ahead of Handel. But it's still very close. No real shakeups. Karen Handel taking a big part of Fulton County, with Ossoff taking the more southern parts and parts of DeKalb. But so far we have Fulton in favor of Handel, Cobb in favor of Handel, with DeKalb with Ossoff. Early voting is lying in Ossoff's favor, but as of now, it's not helping him too much. Handel's still in the lead by about 1,000 votes. 127,000 of them have been tallied. Yeah, it's mainly estimated that Handel's going to win. I mean, even the... All right, if you're just tuning in, welcome to the RSC podcast. Even the New York Times is projecting that she'll win, but they're only projecting about 0.8%. I'm saying more about probably anywhere from 2 to 4%. I'll say that she'll end up winning by. But at this point, it's truly too early to tell who's going to win this one. I'll show some of the updates right now on Decision Desk HQ, showing that Handel is still about 1,000 ahead, with most of North Fulton you can see in her favor, with most of South DeKalb siding with Ossoff. All right, welcome back to the RSC live stream of the Georgia District 6 special election, where we still have Handel leading Ossoff by a couple votes. Not enough to guarantee her, anything too much, but she's pretty much maintained the lead since we've started. Let me update the.
Yeah, Ossoff is getting a big county apparently. Like it's in favor of Ossoff. I think 60.
Connection with you is not too good there, Clay. But yeah, as we can see,
Is it better now?
Yeah, much better. Yeah, Handel is actually holding on to, as we expected, North Fulton, high population area. She's still holding on to both the majority of Fulton and Cobb, both barely, while Ossoff has a much further lead than her in DeKalb County, which was projected as well.
I'm seeing that the totals now have Ossoff up by over 1,000.
They have Ossoff up over
But some
1,000?
people say that's skewed.
What are you using?
Some people say that's skewed. I'm just going on Twitter. It's from Dupree.
I'm using Decision Desk HQ right now, and they still have Handel up. But, the New York Times, they have Ossoff up right now, but they're still projecting that Handel is going to take it. But I still have money on Handel, and from what I can see through Decision Desk, she is maintaining the lead over Ossoff. Now, me and Ethan, we were discussing earlier how Ossoff is kind of, he's put a lot of money into his ads and his campaigning, but, I don't feel like it's going to help him. I feel like in a lot of sense, it actually has hurt him. Mainly a lot of his supporters have hurt him, because all over Twitter you see the whole, the hashtags they create, and they act very smug about it. Flip the six, they're really, they alienate a lot of people.
Ossoff.
Yeah, vote your ass off. They're very alienating to people who might vote for him, because he's kind of branded himself as this kind of, both parties are, trouble. Both have wasteful spending in Congress. I'm here to be in between them, but his supporters make him just seem like any other establishment liberal Democrat.
Well, I think everyone knows it's obvious that he shifted from the far left to this. It's just obvious.
Yeah, he's.
If you go back on some of the stuff he said last year, he was more far left, and now he's shifted center to appease the traditional conservative voters in the 6th district.
Yeah. Let me see if there's an update on any big update on voting right now. Decision Desk is still putting Handel ahead, not by a whole lot, but still ahead, while the Times is, I believe, showing that Ossoff is still ahead by about 1,000. But of course, these could be skewed. I'm seeing here that the Times actually has Ossoff in his early votes ahead by about 2,000. But Handel has election day votes up him by a little less than 1,000. So she's beating him out when it comes to today's votes.
So when exactly will we know the final results? Maybe not till around 11?
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, probably around then. The polls close about at 7. I don't see a estimation on when they're going to have those results out, but I'd say 11 is probably a good time to bet on. At the most, probably. Nothing big coming out of it now, but this is it's been given a lot of attention, mainly because of how imperative the 6th district is. It's a very highly populated district. It kind of has the centers of Georgia. It has a very kind of split socioeconomic populace. You have some very low-income people in South DeKalb County, while Fulton has some right-wing, more upper-middle-class citizens.
Yeah, and I mean, that's precisely what expensive congressional race in history.
Yeah, I mean, Ossoff has spent a lot of money on his campaigning. I think it was Ben Shapiro said he spent his Ossoff, but it didn't help him.
Yeah, and like you said, with like him alienating himself, that ties in with the funding too, because he's receiving funding from these establishment liberals and from people not in Georgia, and Handel used that to her advantage. She mentioned that most of my funding is coming from people of Georgia, while his funding is coming from San Francisco.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's and there was actually this one ad. It was posing as a pro Ossoff ad, and it was supposed to be somebody from San Francisco that was talking about how he's just like them and how he'll turn Georgia into San Francisco. And I guess it was purposely, there to kind
Yeah, I
of.
saw that.
I found it funny.
But I mean, honestly, if I had to guess, I would say Handel was just going to win. I would say I would go with Handel simply because, it's a backlash, like a sentiment that relates to like the backlash against the establishment that's so apparent in politics in the past year.
Yeah, and the main counterpoint that Ossoff had against Handel was that she had spent money on chairs during during a bad budget crisis, and I'm not sure that's really going to demonize her as much as you might think it will.
All right, yeah, I just saw a cool tweet that said, "Remember, kids, if Ossoff wins by a single vote, it's a crushing historic defeat for the GOP. If he loses by one vote, the Democratic Party is doomed."
Yeah. But I think more are actually showing that he's ahead now than behind. I think it's because Decision Desk is only showing today's votes and not putting in early voting. Because he still has a minor lead, from what I can see, against Handel on total votes, but her election day votes are catching her up fairly quickly. She has definitely lengthened her lead in Cobb County, and he still has a very high lead in DeKalb.
Well, the problem is that a lot of the people who would vote for Ossoff don't actually get out and vote. And there's been people on Twitter all day, pushing for these Democrats to get out and vote because they say a Democrat who doesn't vote Republicans basically, because that's a huge problem. Which
we're still getting a bad connection with you there, Clay. A little bit. Yeah, and I think a lot of his ads too have scared a lot of Republicans and been like, "Oh man, this guy's really trying. Better get out there and vote in an election they might not normally even vote in." So all this advertising has kind of, I think, hurt him more than it's helped him.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes a lot of sense, and it's funny because Trump's been getting really involved in this too.
Yeah, he really has, and I don't know, partly
he's had multiple tweets all.
Yeah, but he's tweeting a lot about it all day. They still have barely any of the votes in, as from what I can see. DeKalb has about 1% in. Cobb only has about 1%, and Fulton only has about 7% in.
People are still trying to call the election from under 10%.
Yeah, really. The lead is definitely closing. From what also has, there was, I think that, let me see here. Yeah, he's still kind of strengthens his lead in Cobb County. But yeah, it's still honestly really early to call. Apparently MSM is reporting that Ossoff is winning, so apparently that's a reliable source.
Yeah. I mean, I think this will somewhat turn out to be like the presidential election. All night. Oh, Hillary's gonna win. Same thing with Ossoff. Ooh, Ossoff's gonna win, and then Handel ends up pulling it out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Oh yeah, not at all. But this isn't quite a Hillary Trump election. I mean, she's been projected by a lot of even projection or news sources that would usually skew a bit more liberal are projecting that she'll win anyways. It's kind of almost the opposite. She's kind of projected right now, but for all we know, Ossoff could come in and do it because the only thing keeping him afloat is really his early votes, and I don't think he's going to get enough election day votes to let him win.
Yeah, and according to Decision Desk, Handel's continuing to climb. And she's if you looked at the prediction markets, it seems like Handel has a 78% chance of winning.
Handel has a what percent chance? You cut off again.
78.
78?
78.
Well, where are you reading that from?
It's a prediction market called Predicted.
You're cutting out again.
It was tweeted about an hour ago, though, so I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Trying to see if I can find another credible source here. The New York Times, they seem to no longer be updating theirs. It's kind of just sitting stagnant now. Decision Desk is putting her at a 1%. About a 1% lead over Ossoff. Let's see where Business Insider puts them. Also, I'm a kind of a fan of Real Clear Politics sometimes as well, even though they were very far off on the Trump election. But it's hard to blame them on that one. I'm now updating our page for our Handel versus Ossoff counter. Let's see here. Real Clear Politics is they're putting Ossoff up by 28 points. Oh, this is
Yeah, it looks like we're seeing like a.
Yeah, this was the wrong.
We're seeing some really conflicting.
Yeah, this was the older election. The between Ossoff and his other ones. They're putting actually Handel up on Real Clear Politics by 0.2%.
Well, has Cobb? You said Cobb's been Fulton into Cobb, right?
Sorry, you're cutting out again, Clay.
You said Fulton and DeKalb have reported more than Cobb, correct?
No, DeKalb and Fulton. Yes, have reported more than Cobb. Cobb is under 1%.
Once Cobb starts coming in, that's gonna. Yeah, Cobb's gonna be.
Clay, you might want to reconnect to our chat here because your you're cutting in and out on us.
All right.
But yeah, I'm seeing Fulton at a 7% in and putting Handel ahead. I'm seeing DeKalb at a 12% in, putting Ossoff ahead, and I'm seeing Cobb putting Handel ahead, but they're only still under 1% reported. But it's amazing the amount of people who are putting Ossoff up. WSB TV putting him up by 3 points. The Atlanta Journal putting him up by 7. WXIA TV putting him up by 7. Dang. Very few are actually putting Handel ahead, even though she seems like she's been the favored. Fox is putting Ossoff up by 1. Fox Atlanta. RCP is still putting Handel up though, ahead of Ossoff. And as of now, she is projected to win over him as of now, but that could easily change.
Yeah, it really is still, like you said, really early.
Close
so
to
yes.
call. Yeah, 538. They're putting Handel ahead. She just moved actually even further ahead with 19% of the votes already put in. Ethan, can you not whistle? You don't mind?
What? Why not?
What's the maximum amount of viewers at 10?
One. All right, and we're back with the RSC podcast of the Georgia 6 special election. And from what I can see now, there's no clear person ahead. Most things that I can find are putting Handel ahead. About 19% of the votes in from what I can see. Most still putting her slightly ahead of Ossoff, but who knows?
Here's from a Here's a tweet. If you say you have a good handle on the results early in the night, you're lying your ass off.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Which is honestly true because we really can't tell this early.
It honestly it is. There's nothing you can still project, and a lot of people are projecting for handle, but you really don't know. You really they're actually a lot are putting them about 50-50 right now. I'm seeing right now. There's actually 6% of the vote actually in right now. There's stuff being projected, but we're only at still 6 reporting.
Just with my,
Sorry, go ahead.
but it's just my gut feeling that if you
Yeah,
go off what's happened in the past with Trump, and everything, it just I just have an gut feeling that
you're
I could be.
cutting in and out a little
It
bit.
wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if Ossoff. All right, here's new numbers. Ossoff 61,355. Handle 60,185.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing right now as well. I'm seeing that on the AJC. Where are you seeing that at?
WSB.
WSB? Okay, and yeah, that's what the AJC is reporting as well. They're reporting him ahead.
But again, I think once we get Cobb County in, Handle's votes are going to skyrocket.
Oh yeah, they really will. And, they're barely in right now, apparently, from what I can see.
Because Fulton and DeKalb, that's more minorities, and Cobb County's more like the traditional white conservative voters. I mean, that's just what it is. So
Yeah.
it's hard to deny that once we get those votes in, her support's going to go up.
Yeah, it is. I'm actually going to have to be right back. So I know you have to do something. So we will continue the stream as we get kind of closer to the finishing results. All right, and we're back with the RSC podcast and live stream over the Georgia District 6 special election. So we're going to look at the updated results right now to see how much we've changed. I'll be updating on the feed right now. So according to 538, they're putting Karen Handel slightly ahead, percentage-wise, about 2% ahead of John Ossoff. You can take a look at what the AJC is reporting. I believe they're also reporting that Handel is ahead of Ossoff. Yes, 538 is putting Handel slightly ahead of Ossoff with a growing lead right now at about 3%. Yep, the AJC is putting her at about 52%, with Ossoff behind at 48. 39% have reported in. Handel is holding a lead in Cobb County and in Fulton, with Ossoff with a lead in DeKalb County. So it's pretty much been predicted from the beginning that Handel was going to win this one, and that's probably why Ossoff had to spend so much money on advertisement to try to get himself up there higher in the polls. And he did have a lead in early voting, but his election day votes aren't looking good. Not a lot of people, I think most people who wanted him to win voted on. Did the early voting and weren't going out to vote today. Well, I think a lot of his ads have actually hurt him, where a lot of Republicans in the area probably heard those ads and got worried and went out and voted when they normally would not vote in an election like this or wouldn't think to. So I believe we have about half the votes in now. Or no, slightly under half. We've got about 40% of the votes in, with Handel leading by 4 points. And it's still early to call, but it's looking heavily in Handel's favor. And, even this election got a lot of attention, mainly from Donald Trump. He put a lot of attention into this election, mainly by his tweets, which have really given people a kind of interest, even people not in the district, to this election, because it's such a vital part of Georgia that I know that a lot of people would probably like to see what the outcome would be. So from what I can see, every major polling calculations are putting Handel ahead of Ossoff, and as the results are coming in, the results are in her favor. So it looks like it'll probably be towards her rather than Ossoff, which I know will disappoint a lot of San Francisco liberals in the area that were kind of looking up to him winning. And that's kind of how he sold him. Other people sold him, really, because he sold himself as a guy who is kind of skeptical of both parties. But the people who supported him and his actual decisions, his actions speak a lot louder than his words, have shown that he is a progressive liberal Democrat. He is Nancy Pelosi style politician, and he wasn't going to do what he said he was going to do. And really the only thing he had against Karen Handel, and that they could really attack her on, was she spent money on chairs during a budget crisis. But it's they really didn't have a whole lot on her. There wasn't a whole lot to demonize her, so they really just had to rebrand Ossoff to try to appeal towards those center aisle, slightly right voters. And it didn't work out because I really think that his supporters hurt him more than they were helping him. So I believe we have about half. We have about half the votes in now. Or no, slightly under half. We've got about 40% of the votes in, with Handel leading by 4 points. And it's still early to call, but it's looking heavily in Handel's favor. And, even this election got a lot of attention, mainly from Donald Trump. He put a lot of attention into this election, mainly by his tweets, which have really given people a kind of interest, even people not in the district, to this election, because it's such a vital part of Georgia that I know that a lot of people would probably like to see what the outcome would be. So from what I can see, most projections are putting Handel about 5 points ahead of Ossoff now. Every major polling calculations are Handel ahead of Ossoff. And as the results are coming in, the results are in her favor. So it looks like it'll probably be towards her rather than Ossoff, which I know will disappoint a lot of San Francisco liberals in the area that were kind of looking up to him winning. And that's kind of how he sold him. Other people sold him, really, because he sold himself as a guy who is kind of skeptical of both parties. But the people who supported him and his actual decisions, his actions speak a lot louder than his words, have shown that he is a progressive liberal Democrat. He is Nancy Pelosi. And a update in the South Carolina area, the District 5 election, Republican Ralph Norman had just taken it from Archie Parnell, the Democrat candidate. Ossoff to try to appeal towards those center aisle, slightly right voters. Republican Ralph Norman had just taken it from Archie Parnell, the Democrat candidate. Ossoff to try to appeal towards those center aisle, slightly right Parnell, the Democrat candidate. So it's looking more and more like Handel is going to take this election. It's still early. It could still, anything could happen, but it really is looking heavily in Handel's favor. Ossoff to try to appeal towards those center aisle, slightly right candidate. So it's looking more and more like Handel is going to take this election. It's still early. It could still, anything could happen, but it really is looking heavily in Handel's favor. Ossoff to try to appeal towards those center aisle, slightly All right, we're back with the RSC podcast over the Georgia District 6 special election. And Ossoff is pretty much done. At this point, he has pretty much lost it. He's fallen more and more behind. Some saying as far as 5-6 points behind Handel. Some saying less, some saying more, but most putting him behind Handel. And one of our viewers made a pretty good point because he had spent $50 million, the most expensive congressional advertising campaign in history, and he couldn't win this election. That $50 million could have gone to some pretty good causes, and he can't even vote for himself because John Ossoff doesn't live in the district that he's running for. So it's kind of a waste. It's kind of a huge waste, and it's a waste of my time because having to hear all those ads on the radio over and over again, it's got really annoying after a while. But yeah, the AJC is giving Handel a 6-point lead with about 50% of the votes put in. She has a 53% lead. Let's see what Decision Desk is reporting in. They've been giving her slightly more of a lead. Yeah, they're giving her about the same, about a 6-7 point lead right now over Ossoff. I don't believe the districts have changed that much. Yeah, Cobb still in Handel's favor by 61%. DeKalb in Ossoff's favor by 60%. And Fulton in Handel's with 53%. And it's the closest of the 3 District 6 counties. Let's see what 538 is putting them at. Yeah, 538 is putting him again about a 6% lead. Yeah, a lot of outrage from what I can see. A lot of Democrats truly realizing that he has at this point kind of lost the election. Not a whole lot of places for him to go from here, other than down. The gap is only going to widen from what I predict throughout the night. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like Fulton is going to come in more and more for Handel. He will get some more votes probably from DeKalb, but it's probably split both ways. You won't give him enough to win. Cobb County, no. She has only more going in for her. Fulton County is really the only county that he could possibly go up more in to help him because he is at a 47% at 34% of the county's votes tallied. So that's the one thing that could help him if he still wanted to win this election, but it's highly doubtful that he will come back and take it. So yeah, we're reporting about a little over half now of the votes have been tallied and are in. And it's still looking towards Handel. So, in case you didn't hear my update from earlier, it looks like Ralph Norman has won the South Carolina special election that they were running. I believe their District 5 was having an election tonight, and he took it. So, we might be looking at a double Republican victory tonight. CNN, I think, is still putting Ossoff ahead. That's kind of ridiculous to even entertain that thought at this point. He is so far behind that that's pretty unrealistic, to be honest. They could be late on the results, for all I know, but projecting him to win this election, or let alone projecting him to be ahead right now, is ridiculous and a notion that logically can't be entertained. Let's see what WSB TV is reporting in as the election results. But the Times is again putting Handel ahead. Not quite the margin. Yeah, about right at 6%. Maybe not as much as some of the others are predicting. Predicting she still is holding her lead in Fulton and Cobb, which Fulton is closer than Cobb. Ossoff has lengthened his lead in DeKalb County, which is not a surprise. WSB TV is also reporting that she is 6% ahead, with Cobb being in her favor, DeKalb being in his favor, and Fulton slightly in Handel, but could change the other night as more results come in. Handel is up about 12,500 votes right now. Still more could come in, but she will probably maintain her lead unless Ossoff has some, take some ground in Fulton County, which is possible, but leaning more towards doubtful. Fulton County is definitely kind of sticking more towards Karen from what we can see now. But there are some Ossoff areas of Fulton that could flip it. Predictions are putting Handel at about a 2.1 estimated margin and at a current 5.7 margin. But this is honestly not a big surprise. This is kind of the election that we all saw coming with District 6. Everyone's voting the way that people expected them to. Republicans hold the majority. And with their higher likelihood to get out and vote, they definitely took this election and I believe, are going to take this election. All right, this is the RC podcast over the Georgia District 6 special election, and we do have an update on votes. Karen has actually dropped her lead to Ossoff. She's about 4 points ahead now with 75% in. And like I had predicted, he gained more votes in Fulton County. She is still maintaining a very big lead in Cobb County. He is still keeping his lead in DeKalb, but it's actually shortened a bit percentage-wise. But Fulton has kind of stayed fairly close. It's definitely the closest out of all the districts. We're seeing now that about almost 80% of the votes are now in, and Handel is holding her lead over Ossoff, as was projected. Let's refresh for our audience and see the decision desk is saying. Yeah, they're putting in about the same. Yeah, about 4%. Handle leading. Let's take a look at the map here. We see North Fulton still very Handle, South DeKalb still far in Ossoff's favor. Where is majority of his votes are coming from. All right, and we are back. This is the RSC podcast for the Georgia District 6 special election. We now have Clay and Carson here with us on streaming. And it's pretty much over for Ossoff at this point.
Yes, there's really no way he can feasibly come back, even after the mail-in votes just came in. They had even more mail-in votes than what were expected. 7,300 came in, but it looks like he won 75% of those. But his gains were quickly wiped out by her gains in Cobb County that she won by a larger margin than expected. And she was also able to make some gains in DeKalb County, which is a traditionally Democratic-dominated territory, while he couldn't make enough gains to offset her gains in Cobb County. So if the trend continues, in which it should, she's holding about a 5-point lead right now. It's pretty much over for Ossoff.
Yeah, and Alex was here when I said it. Once Cobb came in, skyrocket, which happened.
Yeah, it really did. You were right.
She
And
currently has a 10,000 vote lead.
Yeah, Fulton is the only one that's slightly less than the other ones. It's 66% in, but it's still looking more towards her favor anyways. So it looks like Handel will take this election, even with the mail-in votes, which is actually a double. It's a double Republican victory for tonight because District 5 in South Carolina was won by Republican candidate. I forget his name.
Norman.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, New York Times claims that Ossoff, that the election is out of Ossoff's reach, roughly 80%.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
They won't call it yet, but if it were to be an analogy, this is right before Wisconsin and Michigan were called for Trump in the election. It's pretty much over.
Yeah, it's pretty much called at the point that he cannot win. We're almost at the point where it's impossible for him to win. And I guess right now we're at the point where it's highly impossible. Yeah.
Decision Desk headquarters just announced that Karen Handel has won Georgia 6th district.
Oh, really? They announced it?
That's big.
Yeah,
Decision Desk just called it.
Yep.
It's an independent source, but they haven't been wrong this year.
Yeah, that's who we've been using for our stream.
Yes, and 538 is using Decision Desk data as well.
Mm. Yeah, the AJC is calling things is calling pretty much synonymously with Decision Desk as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, this is kind of what people saw coming. I mean, as much as Ossoff, I think he actually has the record now for most money spent on a congressional election. What was it? Was it $50 million? Yeah, it was $50 million he spent on this one election, and it's down the drain. Well, one, I mean, he couldn't even vote for himself in the first place because he's running for a district that he's not even a part of, which I'm sure hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, and people laugh at it, but voter turnout favored the Republicans in this case.
I think
because the rain hurt the voter turnout tonight, and it decisively. Ossoff needed a high voter turnout to even have a chance, and what happened was the flooded streets, the different things, people weren't getting out as much as they should have, and so now 538 and CNN now have both projected that Karen Handel has beaten John Ossoff.
Yeah, I think that his ads may have actually hurt him more than they helped him, because I think what his ads did, because there were so many of them, it got a lot of Republicans worried in District 6, and they were like, oh man, maybe I should get out and vote. You know, that normally wouldn't care that much about a district election. They got out and made sure that he didn't win.
Well, this is an opinion I was seeing from 538 earlier tonight, and they actually said that if he would have played it more low key and not have gone all out and spent all this money, the voter turnout might have worked in his favor, because the Republicans were forced to come out because they were scared of him winning after him spending all this money.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he'd have played it more low key and actually not have come out and doing this, the voter turnout might have actually been higher for the Democrats, and the Republicans wouldn't have come back to so far against him. But the fact that he had such a strong ground force and such strong donations in California and Georgia showed that the Republicans are actually worried. And I think the voter turnout on the Republican side was much higher than what we expected. Look at the polling average; it was only 0.2% leading up until today, ahead. But now she's looking like she's going to win by 5 or 6%.
Yeah, and I think it just
the trend that the polls are underestimating the Republican turnout.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show again. This is another backlash against the establishment in a way. Like as Alex mentioned with his commercials, all it did was portray him as being more establishment than people previously thought, which further alienated him from the votes that he needed to get in the 6th district, which would be, the traditional conservatives, and it just further alienated him from them.
AJC just called it for Handel, the first Atlanta station to call it. But pretty much, I mean, it's over now. What's interesting was that the Democratic strategists were still holding on hope, thinking that the mail-in ballots were going to be able to overcome it. Their math was so wrong because there were 7,000 mail-in ballots. Even if he had won every one of those, he couldn't have closed the 9,000 vote deficit.
Yeah, and another problem is that Democrats they just don't get out and vote.
No,
I mean that because a lot of hardcore Democrats who were involved in the party, they were complaining like, if you don't vote, it's a vote for the Republicans, which it basically is, because it just gives a huge advantage to the Republican candidate when these Democratic voters don't get out and actually go to the polling station.
And they had to actually get buses to get transportation to some of these more poor districts to get them out to the precincts to vote. And there are reports they're having trouble getting down the streets today because of flooding around Atlanta, minor flooding. So that definitely hurt things. I mean, it's things like this happen, and it definitely showed tonight. I think that Handel would have still won, even if there wasn't as many difficulties today for the Democrats to get out and vote. But it just shows that her margin is much wider than we thought it was, and I think that's all because of the turnout.